ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin, this is my co-host Eddie, and today I'm just going to be doing a similar video I did the other week, which was my opinion on the GTX 1070 and 1080, except this time we're going to be covering the AMD Radeon RX480. Now, for all you people out there screaming at me, where is the GTX 1080 content? It is coming. Trust me, guys, there has been a pretty massive shortage here in New Zealand of GTX 1080s coming in after talking to some of the retailers. So yeah, it's pretty hard. Just ask anybody in New Zealand who's been trying to buy a GTX 1080 and they'll also tell you how difficult it has been to get one. But trust me, right around the corner, very, very close. And that goes for GTX 1070 content too. But we're not talking about NVIDIA today, we're talking about AMD and the RX480. So we'll jump straight into it then with the specs. So if you are not aware, the Polaris 10 GPU is in the RX480. Now this is a 14 nanometer FinFET GPU, so that's 14 nanometer. Remember, the 1070 and 1080 are 16 nanometer. Now it's featuring 36 compute units, 64 shader cores, and a TDP of 150 watts, which is exactly the same as the GTX 1070. So that's all very good there. I'm quite impressed by that for the most part, although I would have liked a slightly less TDP, as so far from what we can guess, the 1070 will have higher performance than the RX 480 at the same TDP. But NVIDIA has always been ahead of AMD in this regard in terms of power consumption and power efficiency, and having a lower TDP for the performance of the graphics card. Now, we assume it has 2,304 cores or stream processors, which is just a little bit less than the current Grenada GPU you'll find in an R9 390. So that's very, very promising there. Remember, this isn't everything. A lot of people get this wrong. They'll see the new GPU come out and it might have, less, say on NVIDIA side, less CUDA cores or something, or the same amount of CUDA cores, and they just think, oh, well that means it has the same performance, or it's going to have less performance. Guys, it does not work that way. It's very complicated, and I don't want to lose you guys, but just take it from me, it's not that simple. Just trust me. It's the same thing with CPU cores. Just because your phone has an 8-core and your desktop has, say, a quad-core doesn't mean the phone's CPU is more powerful. Just, okay, let's move on. Now, when it comes to actual compute power, AMD is saying it's going to be over 5 teraflops, which should bring it above the current 390, which is at 5.12 teraflops. So that'll be very interesting. But as of right now, we don't really know what the clock speeds are, at least on the GPU. We know what they are on the memory. But it's assumed to be over 1200 megahertz, which should bring it up to about 5.8 5.9 teraflops, but that's a big assumption, so take that with a grain of salt. Now let's move over to the memory then. So it's coming with 4 or 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, same as what the 1070 is running. Now that's going to be on a 256-bit bus, the same as what you got on the 380. However, the memory speed has been vastly upped to 8,000 megahertz, as opposed to on the 380, I believe it was 5,600 megahertz, or could have been 5,800. Sorry, it's been a little while. So that's a very big jump up there between the two. Now, I am quite impressed by that. I would have liked a different, a newer memory type. However, because of, I guess, price restraints and AMD trying to bring the price quite low, which we will talk about a bit later, they've probably just gone with GDDR5. However, at 8,000 megahertz, just like the 1070, that is really, fast for GDDR5. So they're really pushing it to the limits. So that's really good. However, I do worry a little bit about the bus width, being that it's on a 256-bit bus. We're going to have to see something from AMD like what NVIDIA does with the memory compression. So it'll be interesting there as this goes forward and we get more information if they're going to do something like that. Otherwise, I might be a little bit wary of purchasing or recommending the 8GB model, as I'm not really too sure about the bus width on it. However, this is early days, and of course I haven't tested it yet, so we'll just have to see when it comes to that. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about some of the new features that it's going to be coming with. So some of these are assumptions and some of these are facts. So the first assumption I made is that it's going to be coming with the new reference cooler, which was what AMD was actually showing off at the event. So we got to hope that it's actually going to be coming with this cooler. So it looks like a sort of air cooler design based on the Fury X cooler. So kind of a combine of the previous AMD reference blower design just put into the Fury X cooler. I actually think it looks really good. I think it's very, very sexy, and if they actually go with this as the reference card, I think it'd be really good, and a lot of people will end up buying it. Now, as far as power connectors go, so far as we know, it's coming with a single 6-pin power connector, so that's really, really good. A lot of people are going to like that. I like it, but I'm a bit worried if it's going to be enough for the people that want to do some crazy overclocking out there. However, again, that's just an assumption, and we'll see once we actually get the cards. And of course, when other people test them and do lots of overclocking, then we'll find out for sure. It's coming with the GCN 4.0, which is really good. Now, the big thing is going to be the asynchronous compute, so that's going to be really good going forward for DirectX 12, so that'll be very interesting. And of course, I will be testing the RX480 in some DirectX 12 benchmarks. The other thing they said is it's going to be coming with premium multi-GPU support. So what I'm hoping that means is that it'll scale extremely well, because I think a lot of people will be doing Crossfire RX480s because of the low price. So they'll probably want to do that. So that could be very interesting as well. So I wonder what they're actually meaning behind that, and maybe what technology or improvements they have made there. Now let's go to the I/O then. So what we know so far is that it's going to be featuring DisplayPort 1.3 and 1.4 HDR, which is high dynamic range. That's really, really good. A lot of people are going to be very impressed by that. But the biggest one that not a lot of people were talking about that really stole the show for me is finally, AMD is going to HDMI 2.0 and 2.0B at that. So that's really, really good. That finally means you're going to be able to do 4K at 60 Hz, and being 2.0B, that also means it supports HDR. So that's going to be really, really good. And there's a whole bunch of other things. I suggest you go look up HDMI 2.0B if you would like to know more about it yourself. But yeah, this is a very, very good improvement, and I was very impressed to see that. So that is very good moving forward. Now, our final section we're going to talk about is where this is going to fit into the market. And of course, we got to talk about that price. So the price is going to be $199 US, so $200 US. That is very good. Now, keep in mind, that's going to be for probably a base model, like with a reference cooler, and it'll be for the 4GB. So expect maybe up to or more than $50 more for, say, an 8GB model, or for some aftermarket SKUs with, say, the gigabyte coolers on them. I'm sure Sapphire is going to come out with a great cooler for it as well. So that should all be quite interesting there. But that's a very, very solid price there, and I really like it. This is going to be, if the benchmarks are to be believed so far, which have only been really from AMD aside from some sort of rumor ones, it's going to be one of probably the best price to performance graphics cards at launch that I've ever seen. So that's going to be really, really good. However, I always say take it with a grain of salt, because AMD have hyped up cards before, like the Fury X, and then when independent people have got to test them, such as myself, they've been left a little bit disappointed. So as always, guys, wait for the benchmarks, wait for independent reviews, wait for people like myself and other great tech YouTubers to review them first before you get too hyped up, you know, because it always sucks to be disappointed. Now, one thing that has to be noted is that it's going to be much, much cheaper than the 1070. Now, the performance right now, from what I can see from the specs, I would say is probably going to be better than the 390 and probably just less than the 390X, or maybe exactly the same as the 390X, which is going to be very, very good considering the price. And that would mean it would be around, probably better than a 970, around a GTX 980 type performance, but of course at a $200 US price tag, which is very, very impressive. So I think that's very good, and it's going to fit nicely into the market with those people that maybe can't afford a 1070. It's also going to be good for people that might think that the 1070 is going to be too overkill for them if they're just, say, gaming at 1080p on a 60 Hz display, which the vast majority of gamers are doing. Then maybe they might think the 1070 isn't worth that extra price premium, where the RX480 will do them very, very nicely. So that's another thing to take into consideration. But I think it's going to make the market very weird now, and with the NVIDIA 1070 and 1080 out as well, it means that on the NVIDIA side, pretty much all the 900 series cards are obsolete instantly, because as we can see now, the 1070 has on par performance with a GTX 980 Ti, but at a lower price. So that basically means that everything on NVIDIA's side, as far as the 900 series goes, is obsolete. So basically on NVIDIA's side, you basically have to start at the 1070, and if you want to save up or spend a bit more money, then you can go for the 1080. And the RX480 is doing the same on the AMD side. There's pretty much no reason to get a 300 series AMD graphics card once this comes out. It makes them completely obsolete. Why would you buy something like an R9 390X if these performance, the specs and the performance we've been shown so far is true, and the RX480 will give you the exact same performance as, say, a 390X, but at a lower price and with maybe some newer technologies on it and better I/O and all the rest of it. It does make you wonder. It seems like both companies have leapt forward so far that they've made all their current, past now generation products completely obsolete instantly. So that's a funny thing to note when it comes to how they've positioned their cards within the market. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative and maybe shed some light on a few areas that maybe you weren't that aware of, and you get someone's opinion who obviously is very experienced in this side of thing. But as always, let me know what you guys think below about the RX480. Are you really hyped for it? What do you think about what we know so far and what I talked about in this video? And are you disappointed at all by anything with the RX480? I'd really love to know your guys' input, so leave a comment in the comment section down below. Now, I thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already, and like the video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.